Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, William Liu, and I'm Joe, my producer and co-host, Alex Wong. Yeah, another tough loss last night. Oh, man.
I mean,
we could automate the show at this point.
what's there to say?
Yo, Derek, just splice up every word that we say, and then when Alex isn't here next week, just press buttons, man.
Let's just take Monday's rundown and then do it again. Lots of the same issues with the Raptors. 130, 122 loss. I gotta give them credit though. Low bar right now, but both games this week have been entertaining.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
I know you always worry about the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So from a consumer standpoint, it's been fun.
Also,
why did the whole world just gloss over Fred doing fouling for no reason at the end of the month? Like, why did no one talk about this?
He legit had a J.R. Smith moment.
Like, I guess because they won, it didn't matter, but
yeah,
that was wild.
That was a flagrant mistake.
Yeah, it happens. Like, it actually does happen. Like, a lot more than you think if you think about it.
It happens to players that, you would think it'll happen to, like a J.R. Smith. Remember Andrea Bargnani one time for the Knicks? The shot clock was turned off, and it was a tie game, and Andrea just chucked a three.
I don't remember that one. The most famous Raptors one is Chris Childs. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah.
In the playoffs against Detroit.
Can't wait to read your book.
It's not about it.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
That was a strange one.
I'm not even trying to pick on Fred. I just feel like there was like no conversation about it.
Well, it was strange. Even on the broadcast, they were like, okay, Brett's just going to go to the line. I'm like, there's no reason Brett should be going to the line right now. Like, whatever. I worked out in the Knicks game, had a bit of positivity, and then you go to Milwaukee, you get the news.
No Giannis.
Giannis not going to play.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, you got a real chance here.
Here we go. Four out of the last five, right?
Sure.
Regardless of opponent.
Yeah.
Regardless of opponent, 1-4 of the last five. Every win matters. And no Giannis.
All the victories matter.
Yeah.
So I've been watching a lot of The Wire.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Vince Lombardi.
That wasn't a convincing Lester? Okay.
What? I thought that was Rawls, man. What? And then they give up 44?
44.
44 points in the first
44 points in a quarter, man.
Joe Antetokounmpo was out there cooking them.
I'm so sick
Young
of this.
buck.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles should be slow-mo, not Kyle Anderson, by the way. Like, Joe Ingles, his game is like VCR replay level speed. And I respect it.
It's actually amazing watching how bad the Raptors defense was yesterday. I went back and a lot of times, like, for my own process, like I do the podcast first, whether that's going to be live syndicated on radio or just recorded straight for podcast. That usually takes about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. And then right afterwards, because that's usually around, like, let's say last night that was around like 10:45. I then pivot to writing, which usually takes about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I try to wrap up my day because obviously it's like pretty late at night at that point. I made sure that I rewatched like half of the game yesterday just to confirm what I had saw in my notes.
Right.
Because the major thing for me yesterday was just how many times the Bucks literally walked up the floor and pulled up for three and nobody stopped them. And that happened like probably 6 or 7 times. And then there were a lot of other like really early threes as well, where the Bucks were clearly just like, look, we don't have Giannis, so we're going to be super aggressive with three. And obviously, if we get hot, we could probably blow a team away. And that's exactly what happened. But at the same time, just the transition defense of the Raptors was just so comically bad. Like, you can't give up like the official stats say that the Raptors lost fast break points 24-11, which is already pretty bad. But I don't know, like when you watch back through the makes and stuff like that, there were like 9 makes that the Bucks had within the first 8 seconds of the shot clock. And you just can't lose that battle that badly. Like, that's how you give up 44 points in the first quarter. That's how you give up 130 points throughout the game. And it never even changed. Even towards the end of the game, guys were getting wide open threes.
You got to do better, fam.
You got to do better, man. That's, like the consumer, once again, I'm worried. I'm worried about the consumer.
I'm worried about the Nelson ratings.
I'm worried about the consumer, man.
But, like, is that not effort, energy, focus?
Say that. Don't ask Nick that.
But is that not all of the stuff?
Please, no more questions about effort. What was it? What did he say the other day? No more questions about effort? Yeah.
Not to, do a rerun, but is that not a lot of it?
Well, I mean, at least with yesterday, you see a situation where they're playing second half of back-to-back on the road. Like, I wasn't expecting the Raptors to come out and, like, be as energetic, especially because that Knicks game was hard fought and it went into overtime.
Sure.
But at the same time, to me, I'm like, well, if you're coming into the preparation of this game and you're the coaching staff and you're Nick Nurse, you're probably thinking, well, look, second half of back-to-back, I got to at least give my bench guys some look here, right? And more importantly, you probably got to extend your bench a little bit just to buy in a few minutes. However, in Nick's defense, when he came on and brought some reserves into the game, specifically, he played Precious, Chris Boucher, and Juancho Hernangomez to end the first quarter. They were the main reason why the Bucks were able to explode up to 44 points. Like, literally, the Bucks got like 4 straight possessions where they made threes, and all of that was bench guys making defensive mistakes, whether that was Precious not picking up any shooters while Pascal was scrambling between 2 guys, and then Joe Ingles gets open for 3, whether that's Joe Ingles literally sauntering. Like, Joe Ingles is so old, he should walk with his hands behind his back like a Chinese grandpa, man. That's how slow he was walking. He walked down the court. Chris was like, oh, that's fine. He just made a 3. I'm not going to go contest. And yeah, Ingles just literally walks up and pulls up for 3. Like, they didn't even have to run a play. They walked the play in order to get that 3. And then you had, like, I think Juancho fell asleep on the zone or whatever. There was miscommunication with the team. And then I think Pat Connaughton got a 3. Then Chris Boucher jumped into Joe Ingles. Why are you jumping? Is Joe Ingles going to, like, dunk over you? Is he going to shoot over you? And how many times did Joe Ingles go at Chris Boucher yesterday? To the point where even the fourth quarter, when Joe Ingles drove, like, he was on the left wing, and he drove all the way to the top, then went all the way downhill. So this guy made, like, a U, and Chris Boucher still couldn't cut him off and give up an and one on the drive. So I get it. For Nick, it's like, I can't trust my bench to come in and make these, plays here. He ultimately, I think Precious was fine. Precious, a couple defensive lapses early on, but I think overall he was good. Mm-hmm. But he didn't trust the rest of the guys. And then, of course, you got a situation where, okay, now you're in another close game. You're going up and down in this one, so you can expect some tired legs. And then when you look at the final box score, and you're like, a whole bunch of guys playing 40 minutes again. The last 2 games, you got Pascal playing 87 minutes out of a possible 101. Mm. You got Gary Trent Jr. playing 86. You got Fred VanVleet playing 86. You got Scotty Barnes playing like 85.
Yeah, Fred with a back injury.
Oh, yeah. Fred was questionable with a back spasm. And now
they asked him after the game, after the Bucks game, and he was just like, well, it's not getting any better.
No kidding, man. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the team is, it's messy, man. It's messy. And look, listen, they played really well offensively yesterday. It was nice to see that. Yeah, right. Just like they played well offensively against the Knicks, but I think for me, fundamentally, this is a defensive team, and they just been so bad on defense this year, so bad.
That's the number one problem with this team, right?
Yeah.
The defense.
Well, the funny thing is, like, they're now at the point where they're such a bad team that they have multiple problems. You can't even say there's like number one.
Oh, it's like cascading. It's like a nesting doll type thing.
Yeah, because
there's
it's
a
like,
lot going on.
The defense is an issue, but also the offense is an issue. But also the first quarter starts are an issue. But also the third quarter letdowns are an issue. But also the bench is an issue. But also some of the starters are an issue in terms of they don't consistently play.
And you have injuries.
It's like, okay, all right.
It's
another one.
No, legit. That's really what it is. So, yeah, they lose again. Were there positives? I haven't seen a rundown. Did you want to say any positives?
I'm scrolling and I can't really find anything. Second quarter.
Yep,
was really impressive.
Really good quarter.
40-point second quarter, and I thought Fred and Gary really led the way offensively for them, combined for 67 points. Fred had the 39. Mm-hmm. But that's a small silver lining, I guess, because you give up 130 points. Like, what, they gave it right back in the third quarter.
I hear you. I think for me, watching the backcourt actually come together and give you that kind of offensive performance, it's just annoying to see that wasted, right? Because
a lot of things have been wasted this season.
That's fair. I think
that is one.
We've had games this year where, and literally we had games last weekend where against Atlanta, the forwards all played pretty decently, but the 2 guards combined for 10 points.
Right. They got cooked by DeJounte.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You know what's the worst nickname in the league right now?
Sound like a condiment.
Triple J. They got to stop calling Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J. I hate that nickname.
Yeah, honestly,
Trip Jacks or something.
When was the last time we got a really good nickname?
I don't know, but I heard him referenced as Triple J on a podcast yesterday, and it just really bothered me.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
No, anyways, they got cooked by DeJounte.
Yeah. Oh man. And then
Catering.
And then this game, they have 67 combined points.
But it doesn't matter. Yeah, producer Derek Brandale says it sounds like a mustard.
Nah, man, you called this guy. They called the two guards Dejan Rondo.
Oh my God. Yeah, so they waste the 67 points,
but
which is an incredible performance from the backcourt.
They gave you 10 threes combined. And like the third quarter or the second quarter push when the Raptors won that definitively. Gary was awesome with the bench group to start in that stretch, and then Fred was awesome to finish with that stretch. Yeah, I mean, the two of them in the second quarter had a combined 23 points out of the Raptors 40.
Mm-hmm.
And, things were looking decent at halftime, but you figured that the Raptors would need to come in and actually start playing defense at some point, and they just never did. And it was kind of the same. The Bucks just walked up the floor and got wide open threes, like Brook Lopez picking and popping for three. Like, how many times did Brook he picked and popped for three straight times?
No, there's no resistance when you play the Raptors most nights.
No. There really isn't,
right? Like, it's an easy game.
No, like you have guys like not necessarily playing fundamentally sound defense, but playing silly defense. Like there's a play where Jordan Nwora at the end of the third quarter, got the ball in the corner with 3 seconds left, doesn't take the three, instead drives, and Chris Boucher leaves his feet with 0.3 seconds left and fouls him.
Oh yeah, was this the Evan Scott review?
That was Evan Scott came over and overruled Bill Kennedy.
New Asian beef for Chris.
That's tough.
Shouts to Evan Scott's hair, by the way.
No shouts to Evan Scott's at all on this program ever. But no, seriously though, like whether it was a foul or not, and I think it probably was a foul, especially looking at it.
It's not a play you make at that.
0.3 seconds left. Yeah. When you're a taller player against a guard driving full speed into you, just keep your hands up. Right, force him to shoot over the contest. Like smarter plays like that. Smarter plays like Jordan Nwora, getting OG on a closeout and OG bumping him for free throws. Like, like Jordan Nwora is like a good 3-point shooter, but like you got to be able to contain that. Or you got to be able to contain Joe Ingles, right? The only reason Joe Ingles
we really
was
talking
so
about
good.
Joe Ingles and Jordan Nwora.
I know. That's where the Raptors are right now.
Oh my God.
But we're talking about a game where Joe Ingles scores 15 points on 5 shots. 4 or 5 from the field, knocks down 2 threes, got to the free throw line 6 times because guys kept jumping into him, had 8 assists as well in 31 minutes off the bench. Joe Ingles was 35 fresh off of ACL.
ACL, yeah, like a year ago, like 12 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't think he broke a sweat yesterday.
I don't think he moves at a pace where he needs to sweat.
I was on sweat eye test watch with Ingles.
No, this guy was purely dry and just driving around like, Precious and Chris and whoever else. And it's just like, again, like this is supposed to be a defensive team. Like you can't lose sight of the ball here. Like this is supposed to be a defensive team. And they just consistently give you these kind of nasty performances.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned the Raps fighting really hard on Monday, going to overtime, this being the second half of a back-to-back. I mean, it was the second half of a back-to-back for Milwaukee too.
I know.
Without their best player. And it was also the second half of a back-to-back for Atlanta on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Like I get it. Like it does seem like there is a pattern. I think we've seen it the last 2 years of on the second half back to back because of the starters' minutes. They just run out of gas at the end.
Yeah.
But I don't think they ever put the foot to the pedal yesterday, man.
I think they did on the second quarter, but that's really about it.
But
right?
That's one quarter.
And this is a team that you should be able to do better against. Like I said this in the post-game reaction, and even going back and watching the fact that Drew Holiday made 16 shots, like 12 of those were tough buckets. But you got to live with that sometimes because some of those players in this league are really, really great and they're capable of doing it.
He's a great player, man.
He's a great player. Every time I watch him, I really respect him.
He's a great player.
But at the same time, you got to limit the rest of this stuff. You got to limit guys walking up the floor and taking a three like a Grayson Allen who did that like 3 or 4 times yesterday.
No, Raps need to trade for him, man. I don't want to see him no more. That's -2 wins on the year.
Like, like Brook Lopez picking pop for 3 straight threes. Like, you got to fix up.
Everything's easy, though. Like, it's so easy. Like, it's so easy.
It's disappointing.
It's not even tough shots. Any of that. OG, 2 of 13.
You know what? I don't understand what's about OG.
Minutes.
Look, my whole thing was just like, if a player plays bad, we discuss it. If a player plays well, we discuss it. But we got to like deal with the actual facts on the floor, sometimes, right? And for me, when I'm watching OG last night and all of his shots, all the shots that he's supposed to take are set up for him. Driving kick, you're open for 3. In transition, you go finish, right? Simple plays. And so you expect when you are set up in that way to just finish, right? You can't just compare shots across the board because anyone who has played basketball at any level understands that if you are the main playmaker, you are doing a much harder job than the one who's finishing, catching and shooting for three, right? So he missed so many catch and shoot opportunities, which is what happens, right? You know what? Shooters go up and down.
Even against the Knicks, he didn't score until overtime,
yeah.
right?
And then, you had transition opportunities where there's one play in this first half where he had a 2-on-2. Instead of doing the drop-off pass to Pascal, who was trailing on the play, he would have been the third player. He would have scored a guaranteed layup, guaranteed dunk even. He decides to pick up his dribble 1-2 step from like the free throw line extended and then leaves a finger roll short on the rim instead of making the extra play to Pascal. You also see plays where he's guarding in the post against Brook Lopez, and instead of staying solid, he jumps the passing lane, except he doesn't get it. And now Brook Lopez is open white back door for a lob. Then he's giving up, he had his back turn on a pick and pop three for Grayson Allen in the fourth quarter. And Drew Holiday scored over him at the rim in the fourth quarter twice. So I'm thinking about, like, in a game like this, what is OG's role, right? OG's role is to, obviously, first and foremost, shut down the opposing star player. Right. So you would expect him to be on Drew Holiday and make it tough for Drew Holiday. I don't think that had any effect on this game. Right. No. But then it's like, okay, you also wanted him to guard Brook Lopez a little bit because of the fact that, they had a center on them. I don't think Brook Lopez had a hard time offensively either. Right. And then it's like, okay, so what about the other portion, which is finishing plays? Right. And you expect OG to have a really efficient game because he's literally just finishing plays and he shoots 2 of 13. And then it became real strange to me. It was like, okay, clearly OG doesn't have the hot hand, but you notice towards the end of the game, and whatever, man, the Raptors are probably going to lose this game anyway, no matter what. And it's for me, just nitpicking individual plays at the end of a game feels more trivial than just looking at the overall fact that how bad they were in transition defense. That's where they lost the game. First and foremost, they lost the game because they gave up like 9 transition threes. But also at the end of the game, OG Anunoby's posting up against Grayson Allen, and it's like, you know what? I see that is a mismatch. Okay. But they spent the entire possession just trying to feed OG in the post. They finally get it to OG in the post. He has it against a smaller guy in Grayson Allen. He's got good post position. He goes out for the jump hook. It's a 5-foot jump hook, and he shoots at 3 feet. And all of this is to say, guys have bad games sometimes. I don't think he had a good game offensively or defensively, but it's like people have lost the plot. No one even talked about this portion of the fact that one of your best players, who is arguably your second best player this season, played that badly on both ends of the floor, but instead the discussion is about everything else.
Yeah, I think it just goes
let's just talk about the players when they play good and when they play bad, and just acknowledge that.
I think it just goes back to setting expectations for players like OG, and I think he gets a lot of praise for what he brings to the table as a 3-and-D guy, but I think he's had plenty of opportunities the last 2 years, like even the start of last year when they were trying to thrust him into that number 1 option role when Pascal was out. And I think this year it does seem to me there's always like 2 or 3 possessions a game where you look at it and you're like, is this the best shot for the team?
Yeah.
When he's kind of just doing his own thing. And to be honest, I see that
in the first quarter. Even the first quarter, you want to give OG in the post?
Get him going.
Sure. Maybe you could have looked for OG in the post throughout the course of the game. I think there was only one other time they did it, and it actually worked. But 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, when he's 2 of 12 at that point.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, it's like defensively, right?
Yeah, I just think with every player, especially the starters that we talk about now, it's like, what is OG's like ideal long-term role on this team? Because I think
the ideal long-term role for a winning team for OG Anunoby is to play a premium 3-and-D position.
Right. And I think he wants a little bit more than that. And I don't blame him, The contract is coming up, right?
It's not even a contract year, though.
Yeah, I know. He's like a year away, right?
Yeah.
But, like, I think he wants to set himself up. And I think he sees himself as something more than what people cast him as, right? Like this premium 3-and-D guy. Maybe he sees himself as a number 2 option on a team type. I just don't think he's shown enough.
If OG Anunoby is your number 2 scoring option, is that team good offensively?
No, but I completely agree that should be his role, the 3-and-D role.
Is there another jump that he can make offensively? Like, he can obviously polish up what he's good at right now with his finishing and perhaps extend things that are portion of finishing in terms of, like, catching and attacking off the move.
Yeah.
Right? But that's an extension of finishing. There's finishing, and then there's also just, like, play creation. Right? And then there's initiation and stuff like that. He's obviously not good with the handle. Okay, I don't want to be rude about this. Last time the Bucks were in Toronto, pregame. That was the one that your nephews were at. We were sitting courtside for a lot of it, right? And they got courtside passes. And I remember very vividly, OG was right in front of us doing a 2-ball drill, which is like, typically he wouldn't do that pregame. Like he usually just goes for the 3-point shooting and whatever, and then goes, right? He was doing the 2-ball drill, which is like, you're trying to handle with both hands, maybe cross over a couple times. And I was watching it, and I was like, maybe it was just a bad day, but like the ball was dribbling over his shoulder, up to the head level.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and that's not surprising because the handle's not strong enough.
No, we've seen that in games, like the ball handling.
So if he's going to be a number 2 option, or if that's the aspiration, like, can he reach that here? Is there going to be a space for him to do that here? And honestly, if there isn't, and if he's not happy with that, you maybe have to look at situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't. I think players, kind of at his age, like at that point of his career, there are a lot of players like that who want more, right? But again,
but how many guys on the team want more?
But
right?
that's what I'm saying. No, but that's what I'm saying. This is like emblematic of the bigger problem on the team right now. I think there's a suitable role for a lot of these guys, like an OG, like the 3-and-D role that would be ideal for the team, but it's not ideal for what the players want, right? So, I don't know.
I think, that's
like it's not just OG. I get what you're saying.
It's a bit role definition. You know what I mean? Like you really need the role definition for this team, and you're not just that. Like it's not just for the coach to define. It's not that simple. It's not like any regular workplace where they're like, hey, you're Joe, you're working this 8 to 4 shift, and then Bob, you're working this 4 to midnight shift.
It's always Joe and Bob. Man.
Yeah, it's not about the Jimmys and Joes. It's about the.
Oh no! Please,
we're at that point in the season. No, it's not that simple, right? It's really more about the fact that you need to get players to fully buy into that role as well.
Yeah, it's hard to buy in when you're 20 and 25.
And a lot of these guys just aren't buying in. Like, what is there to buy in for specifically, right? They're not going to win a championship this year. They might not even make the playoffs this year. And a lot of them are probably looking at situations where it's like, you know what? You probably look at the bottom line. Like, this is a business, right? And a lot of these players have a lot of money on the line potentially. So, I mean, like, I'm not even saying that that's the reason they lost the game. I think quite simply they lost the game because their transition defense was so awful yesterday.
But all the issues about the team, like
I think bigger wise,
these kind of thought processes and approaches plays into what takes place on the court.
Yeah,
and I think we've seen enough of it now. Man, we just had this conversation 2 days ago.
I know we had this conversation 2 days ago,
and we're gonna have probably. But again, like, I get what you mean.
But at the same time, though, like you would ideally like to see. It's not like people can't thrive in these roles. It's not like OG can't make a long career in this league and make a lot of money on his next contract.
There's a reason why every contending team would love to have him. Like, picture him.
Love to have him.
Imagine him on the Cavaliers.
Yeah,
right?
but what option would be in the Cavaliers?
I know what you mean, though. Like, it'd have to be in that 3-and-D role, right? Like, he's not getting the ball like all the time.
I think at best third.
Sure.
Third in the pecking order here, or if there is a pecking order. Yeah. But it's like, Pascal obviously is your number 1, right? I think Scotty should be your number 2 long term. Probably even this season, Scotty can be your number 2. Fred can be your number 2 sometimes. Like, obviously, he was your number 1 yesterday, right? So he has the capability of doing that. Like, what have you ever seen a game like that where like OG was nearly as good as Fred was like offensively yesterday? Right. And Fred had 3 of those games this season already in a year where he's down. Right, so clearly Fred is much more skilled offensively. Who's more skilled offensively, Gary or OG?
Gary for sure. No.
So then, where is he the option right now? Yeah. And now he's not happy.
People don't seem very excited about Fred's last 2 games. I've been really impressed with Fred.
No, people don't care. I guess.
I guess the ship has sailed on Fred for a lot of fans.
I think people just like really are fed up, and I get it. Like I totally get it.
The whole product has been back to the product. Like the product has been, it's been bad.
I totally get it. He missed so many big threes for the Raptors this season when they needed them. At the same time, though, I don't know if that necessarily means, even if you're out on him, like this is probably good for you then, right? Like this is good for his quote unquote trade value that he's able to put up 33 and then 39 the next night with a bad back. Like, and
which is not getting any better.
Great offensively yesterday, like just actually fantastic.
Offensively, he was going toe to toe with Drew Holiday, man.
And then meanwhile, I think people for some reason like there was a lot of focus on the plus minus, right?
Oh, because he was minus 23. I want to say.
Yes, because he was definitely played like a minus 23. Meanwhile, Chris Boucher definitely played like a plus 4.
No. The plus minus was very deceiving yesterday.
It literally,
he was on the floor the first and third quarter when nobody played defense.
And here's the thing, it wasn't Drew Holiday scoring on Fred VanVleet. When you go
I
back
saw
and
your-
watch 16 of Drew Holiday's baskets,
He
and I watched this
everyone.
because it was literally like mind-boggling to me.
Mhm.
He had 2 for Fred, he had 2 for Gary, he had 3 for OG, he had 3 for Pascal, he had 2 for Precious, and then he had 3 in transition.
Mm.
He literally cooked every single body on the team.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, he gave it all back on defense.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. But, I mean, at this point, what can you really say? Like, I don't think anything I say, anything even Fred does, will really even change any sort of views on where he is at the season. You know what I mean? Like, people are kind of just really entrenched. They're either really in or really out. And to be honest, there's more people on the really outside, at least just my perception of it.
Listen, I get it. No, it's been frustrating. I know we talked so much, too, about how they didn't win 3 in a row until last week, right? At the same time, they've only
Well,
had...
they didn't play Charlotte Hornets twice in a row
Well, but
until last week either.
No, that's the slogan for this year's team, man. We swept the Hornets at home, and now we're gonna go get one of their
I
players.
see one of the comments in the chat. Come on, Will. Even Grayson Allen blew by Fred VanVleet. I don't remember this comment when OG Anunoby had his back turned as Grayson Allen got wide open.
Oh man, this is
let's just stay consistent. Let's stay consistent.
this is how the infighting starts.
Stay consistent. Oh, that's the other part about this season that's so miserable. It's just the constant infighting between camps.
Mm.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, no 3-game win streak, but also on the flip side, like they had that 1 6-game losing streak. But other than that, like they've only lost more than 3 in a row, like one other time this season. So basically, they've just alternated.
Yeah, and look, listen, there's a lot of teams in the league that are kind of up and down like this. I think truly, if you don't have great depth, you're probably going to struggle a lot, right? Like the teams that are probably going to win a lot right now are the teams that are able to cope with the absences, but also have great depth to be able to play through some of these stretches. Like the Pelicans, for example, like Zion and like Brandon Ingram go out, but they can still win a game because they got great depth and they can call on whoever. Honestly, everybody off that team looks pretty good, right? And then you like Memphis, for example. Guys can miss some time. Jaren Jackson was out, but they can still win.
I love that Memphis roster, man.
Yeah, but it's the teams that with lots of great depth that continue to win, or they just stay absurdly healthy, right? Which is also the case for some other teams. But for the rest of them, for a mid team like the Raptors, they have all sorts of issues, but ultimately they're actually not that far from like a lot of other teams. However, they are frustrating to watch on a day-to-day basis. It's not close.
I think, the frustrating thing is you break down these individual players. You talk about what's been lost this season. Like I just think the biggest thing is just wasting such a great year from Pascal.
That too.
That's such a disappointing thing.
Low-key, do you feel like he's slowing down a little bit?
Little bit. Yeah, I think definitely I think when he came back from injury, I think he was having a really good spurt, obviously at the start of the season.
Sure.
But now you've seen some up and down games from him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's just a fatigue thing, or I don't know. It got to be discouraging just showing up every night and giving up 44, being down 18-3. Should do a compilation at the end of the season of just all their most terrible first quarter starts. Because there's been some great ones.
There's some bad first quarters and some bad third quarters.
No, but the first quarter ones are classic, man. Like you kind of just you breathe a sigh of relief when they score a field goal in the first 4 minutes,
Yeah, I thought you were going to say we should make a compilation of the number of times where players throw their hands up because they didn't get a pass or that. In the case of yesterday with Juancho not taking a 3, Scotty throwing his hands up like, why didn't you shoot? There's a lot of throwing hands up on the floor. And that's not any player. I've seen Pascal do it. I've seen Fred do it.
Their names are.
No, their names are everyone on the Raptors roster. But
no, we should track that. All right, before we take the break, we didn't even talk about the Brook Lopez, Gary Trent Jr. scuffle. So let's do a little breakdown.
You a sucker.
So
yeah, I know he wouldn't have done that to Senior. That's for sure.
So hey, Senior's probably going to be at the game tomorrow, right? Toronto at Minnesota.
Probably.
Fur coat alert.
Last year, he wore the fur coat.
Yeah, fur coat alert.
With his other Gary sons. Which one of them is named actually is Gary's son.
Right. And is there a Grayson too or no?
There's a Grayson, a Graydon, obviously Gary Trent Jr., so Gary, and then Gary's son.
Yeah, Gary's son. Shouts to Takashi. That's what he calls Gary Trent Jr. Yeah. So 113.
I miss Takashi, man.
So I miss Takashi too.
I don't have his number.
Oh, he has my number. Come on, man.
So the Raptors.
Hit him on WhatsApp.
So hit up Renjin Bao.
That's on WeChat.
Shouts. So the Bucks were up 113 to 110 with about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And I might need some context on this because I still don't know what happened. So Brook Lopez and Gary, they get tangled up
on a regular box out.
Yeah.
Like a regular normal box out.
And they're like literally just like hugging each other, like holding on to each other, right?
Well, yeah, it's a box out with a guard versus a big. So a lot of the times you lock the arms.
Yeah, so the arms are locked.
Right. So Gary locks Brook Lopez's arms. Brook responds by walking Gary into the first row. Like he literally walked him down the aisle. One of those situations.
Yeah. So they both were just tangled and went to the first row.
Uh-huh.
And during this process, Brook grabs Gary's headband. Yeah. And throws it on the floor.
He flings it off his head.
Which is honestly pretty funny.
Oh, this was a great fight. As far as NBA fights go, this
really
was
not a fight, though.
Yeah.
We need, I don't know what you call this.
This is like a slow dance. Like they should have played like My Boo over this.
This was a scuffle. They should have played Neo. Yeah. Highlight of the year.
You know what? It's the only reason we're not saying anything about Nick.
So
we got a free Neo concert for 5 people.
That was the original BOGO for me.
Oh, buddy.
So the whistle blows, Evan Scott and his well-coiffed hair, runs in. You look like Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos, man. Google that.
Evan Scott looks like when you go to those museums on the West Coast about Asians in the 1900s.
By the way, you can read refs' bios online if you just look it up.
Yeah?
It's on the referee page.
After the break, we'll bring you some Evan Scott
You
facts.
can tell his favorite movies. Like they do fun questions with the refs.
Didn't Nick Nurse say that he's like, oh yeah, I make sure to study those, and then
really,
well, he'll mention it in games to buy favor.
Well,
from
Evan Scott's from Boston, so what's he gonna do? Reference the town?
He's gonna be like, yo, what's that movie with Leo DiCaprio and there was
oh, The Departed.
The Departed, yeah, The Departed.
That's based on a Chinese classic, man. Yeah. Infernal Affairs.
Wow, okay.
Anyways. So the whistle blows, and then now both sides are coming in.
Yeah, OG comes in.
OG steps in.
He's just like, yo, get off my guy. You know what I mean? Because we've seen Gary
OG and Gary.
For OG.
Let me at him.
When, well, this was in Tampa when OG was gonna give Dennis Schroeder the tombstone, aka the Undertaker.
He literally hit him with a wrestling move on that one.
Yeah,
and then Gary came in to stand in for OG. So OG's kind of returning the favor.
Yeah,
and then, of course, it was right in front of the Raptors bench. So good job by the Raptors assistants, first off, to prevent anybody from walking on the court.
Yes.
Because God forbid any of the bench players who don't play get suspended one game. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Nick would have to go with the exact same rotation.
Nick's like, oh, man.
It's like,
Malachi's not available?
Christian Koloko, Thad Young are suspended 3 games. Nick's like, all right, same 8 tonight. Actually, the funny thing, you mentioned the assistant coaches. Yes, I think that's a natural instinct, obviously, whenever these things happen now, right? Like, make sure...
Because it was right in front of the Raptors bench, too. Yeah.
Because we just recently saw the entire Orlando Magic team, I think, get suspended to the point where they had to stagger the suspension.
Yo, that was wild.
I don't even... Like, when the Magic and, who was it? The Wizards fight? Like, does it matter?
What are y'all fighting about,
did
man?
a tree fall in the forest?
Literal magic? Who does it better?
But then the funny thing is, do we need new rules for assistant coaches? Because Adrian Griffin, Jamal McGlure, I think Nate Bjorkgren too, they just all run into the scrum.
No, but that's their job. They're supposed to be there as peace.
But there's no rules for coaches getting involved. Because you know what I mean, though? Because they are technically leaving the bench.
Sure, but
I'm not calling for...
You do need people to come in, and ideally, you would think that assistant coaches are going to be able to keep a cool head.
Yeah.
So I think Jamal got hit with a tech.
Yeah, and it's a rare time. Like, I rarely see an assistant coach, especially sitting in the second row, get named.
Yeah.
During the replay review, because Bill Kennedy was like, one's going to OG, one's going to Jamal McGlure.
No, first off, he had to write it down on a notepad. That's how many technicals there were, and then he gave Brook 2 technicals. And when I was watching it, my first reaction was, oh, I hope Brook gets ejected.
Yes, because he was playing so well. Yeah,
right. And he ultimately does, because he gets the first tech for flicking the headband.
The headband, yeah.
And then I think continuing to scuffle and stuff like that. So he's out of the game. And you thought, okay, it's a three-point game, 6 minutes left. The Raptors are cooking offensively. Their best defender, obviously, is off the court now. Finish strong. And they never did.
Spoiler. They'll never do what you think they're going to do. Yeah, it's tough. After the game, I think we have this clip here. Brook Lopez was asked about what he felt when he got ejected.
From your vantage point, as you're just walking back to the locker room, though, what had you most frustrated?
I don't know. I can't expect the refs to get it right if they're not going to get it right during the game. Why are they going to get it right when they replay it or any other calls? Well, it's what it is. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Eric makes less mistakes than us probably, but they make mistakes too. They made mistakes tonight. And it's what it is, you know? They're human, they're fallible. Even with the help of replay, they still have a tough time. So it's cool. You know, it's what it is.
I guess he didn't really say much.
He got a strange voice.
He did go. Wait, you've never heard him speak?
No, I know, but just every time I hear it, I'm like, because I heard it a lot during the NBA Finals or the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's right. Yeah, and then Joe Ingles did ask him, like, why did you take Gary's headband?
Yes.
And this clip didn't make it into the broadcast, and I guess there's a reason why. Because he said, "Make sure this never gets aired." You know how like serial killers say the dog in their apartment building was talking? The headband was talking to me. I mean, he was clearly joking, but
right.
Yeah. Anyways, and then he called him Steve Trent at one point.
Yo, come on, man.
He's like, "What was that guy's name? Steve Trent."
That's wild, man. Say that to Gary Trent Sr.
Yeah.
First off, Gary
Gary Trent
would never name any of his sons not Gary.
Yeah.
So first off, Steve, where'd you get Steve from, man?
Saying someone, this is you with Joe and Bob, man. Saying someone else's name wrong is very disrespectful, unless you're Kawhi Leonard, who actually did it accidentally. What did he say? He's like Tony.
Yeah,
was it?
Tony Rozier.
Yeah.
Tony Rozier. Tony Rozier sounds better than Terry, actually. Honestly, Tony Rozier sounds like a lawyer or something.
Tony Rozier. LLP. No, but yeah. I also, I don't know, we're going off topic now, but
that's fine.
I still maintain that the over-under for how many Raptors players Kawhi can name from the 2019 championship team is 8.5. I think that's a fair
What's the
line.
most obscure Raptor he can name?
I think he can name Jody Meeks. I think we talked about this in the media room. Because not Jody Meeks. Jordan Lloyd.
Oh.
He can name Jordan Lloyd because
more obscure.
Because Jordan Lloyd was there when the shot happened. Right?
Sure.
Like
yeah. He's probably seen the photo a lot of times.
Yeah.
He's probably like, yo.
But no,
who is that?
I don't think it's even that he doesn't know his teammates, but it's like, can he remember?
I mean,
like, can he remember Jody Meeks?
I mean,
Eric Moreland.
I feel like you gave a lot of casual fans the quiz of who was on the Raptors team. They probably get 10 out of 15.
Right.
Like casual Raptor fans.
And Kawhi's he was a casual Raptor.
He was hardcore,
you know what?
Man. What
You know what? Kawhi was a casual. That's my hot take. Yeah. Anyways.
All right.
So I guess nothing came out of this Brook Lopez Gary thing.
No.
Still don't know.
I'm happy no one left the bench, so no one's suspended. Like you just don't want to see people even lose money on that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So even the fights have been mid this year, like Caleb Martin, Christian Coloco.
Well, is this our version of, because I was even lamenting on the postgame podcast. I was like, look, even when the Raptors were down in Tampa, they still went up to Milwaukee and beat them.
Swept them. On a home and home.
Swept Milwaukee,
No,
even though they were in Tampa.
This year we swept the Hornets.
All right. And now I'm like, damn, even the games against, like, how many, go through the podcast archives, whether that's the Raptors Show or Raptors Over Everything or, Raptors Republic or wherever, right? Go through the archives. How many slander pods have there been about Milwaukee?
Yeah.
We can't even get that anymore.
I think I saw a stat yesterday, or they said it on the broadcast.
They're doing a slander pod on us. They're like, guess what? Joe Ingles cooked their whole team. They got 6'8" guys.
No, they're calling us Steve Trent, man.
They call us Steve Trent. This is tough.
No, I think we're the only team that has an over 500 record against the Bucks in the Mike Budenholzer era.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I guess we have that. And we beat them in the conference finals, man. It's not even fun talking about championship. It's so far away now.
Yeah.
It's gone to the point where, the page has turned.
Listen, ultimately, I just want to, this would have been a great day to call up Gary Trent Sr. Get his thoughts on Brook Lopez.
We'll get him in.
You probably would have called him Brock Lopez like he was from Pokemon.
Yeah, I'll put Pi on alert on IG. And next time I see him in town, and we'll get him in studio again.
They don't play here for a while, man. I guess they play on the weekend, but
yeah,
they're gone.
Well, we'll get him back.
Yeah,
we can definitely get him back.
Someone said in the chat the championship was total luck. Come on, man.
Oh, should we burn 2 minutes on that too?
Your parents' meeting was total luck.
Oh my God! All right, please go take a break now.
All right, we're gonna take a break.
Goodness.
You've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. When we come back, Alex, what do we have?
We have lots of stuff. More trade talk. We're gonna try to talk about trade deadline rumors every single day until the deadline.
Fair enough. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Liu. I continue to be joined producer and co-host Alex Wong. What do you got for us on the rundown?
What do you got for us,
The point
man?
guard?
So WNBA announced today the preseason game is going to take place on May 13th between the Minnesota Lynx and Chicago Sky at the Scotiabank Arena. It's going to serve as, quote, the first test for the viability of a Canadian expansion team. You know, before the pandemic, there was talk about hosting a game here, and that obviously got called off because of the world. But I think there's a lot of excitement about this.
Yeah.
And I think there's just been a lot of chatter the last couple of years about a WNBA team coming to Toronto. And I think significant, too, that they're playing at Scotiabank Arena, obviously home of the Raptors. And you would imagine if or when the WNBA comes, maybe it is in kind of partnership, too, right? With the Raptors.
I mean, every team that comes to Toronto basically falls into MLSE umbrella.
Yeah, it's true.
Except for the Jays, obviously, but, you know.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Shouts to Rogers.
Shouts to Rogers, man.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, though, like, I think that this is great. This is great. Like, the WNBA definitely wants to expand, right? And you have the Raptors as one of those like key cities that are being looked at right now, right? So it is a good test case, but I also think it's just been a good showcase. You know, like I'd like to see a win in Scotiabank sometime.
Oh God, yeah. No, I think it's super cool, and I think we should just kind of accelerate the process of getting a team.
Yeah,
like
no, for
the
sure.
city can clearly, they clearly have the fan base and all of that, the infrastructure, everything. To have a WNBA team.
There's just a ton of enthusiasm in basketball in general here in Canada.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good. It's a good sign. Like if the WNBA moves this way, which obviously there's gonna be other hurdles that come into it. Obviously, when you're dealing with moving across borders, is an extra set of hurdles. But at the same time, I think the benefits are also really strong, right? And I think the championship really showed that for everybody in this country. Like even though basketball was already on the rise before the title, that really cemented it. It really opened a lot of eyes as to sort of how powerful it was. That parade with 3 million people attending really, again, showcased just how much interest there is. And I think there was 300 Jurassic Parks across Canada during that championship run. So there's a clear potential here. And I think it'll be a great opportunity for the WNBA to expand. Plus, there's lots of good Canadian talent coming up now, too. So
No, excited about it. May 13th, I think the Raptors season should be done, so we should go check that out.
I will be there.
We should definitely check
will be
that
there.
out. 22 days until the trade deadline?
We should have a running calendar or something, like a running clock on the bottom, just a little ticker.
Oh, okay.
Hours until the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can tell Jennifer Olnick about that. 22 days till the deadline. I'm going to try to bring at least one rumor a day. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, Bobby Marks, friend of the program.
Right.
I'm
I'm not going to say what I said pre-show here.
What? What were we saying? You're just making fun of the Paul Pierce KG trade? He makes fun of it.
That's fair. What about the Dame Lillard for 1 month of Gerald Wallace trade?
You know what? We all make mistakes.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I'm just managing you right now.
I'm sorry, man.
Maybe I should. Maybe
I'm
you
a
should
loose
just.
cannon,
maybe
man.
you should press mic off for the remaining 7 minutes. I can handle this. Bobby
I'm Mike
Bobby
on,
Marks.
Inter Milan.
Bobby Marks proposed a trade where Fred VanVleet and Juancho Hernan Gomez of Netflix would go to
Yo, you turn your mic off, man.
the
Come on.
Clippers.
Don't diss Juancho in his one
No,
cut per game
shouts to
like that.
Juancho. Shouts to Bo Cruz. And the Raptors would get Terrence Mann.
Okay.
Not bad. Thoughts so far? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
another athlete that doesn't shoot it particularly well.
Robert
I like him. I like him.
Robert Covington.
I haven't seen a lot of Robert Covington this season.
The OG Anunoby from 7 years ago. No, you're right though. The Covington buzz, slowed down a little bit. Amir Coffey, we call him the double over here.
Would he have a double-double at some
We
point?
call him the triple if he gets 3 points, 3 rebounds, and a
He'd be decent.
2028 top 5 protected first. So basically,
Okay.
Fred for a package of these players and
And a 13-year-old.
and
Because that's what a 2028 first is.
and
a 13-year-old.
a 4th grader who's currently doing the too small to his teammates in the
doing a
playground.
gift test right now, man.
I don't know. What do you think about this Fred trade?
Yeah, if you really want to blow it up, that's not bad. I think you probably would like to see, because you got a prospect in Terrence Mann, a decent rotation player in Covington and probably another decent one in Coffee if you want to choose to keep them around. Probably would look to make other moves after that. But
you don't seem that excited about Terrence Mann.
I think he's a good
player. That's a moment.
I just think that like the team's going to have literally no shooters soon. And obviously Fred's shooting a poor percentage, but we know he is a shooter.
You know what? I did not think about this. I don't know why. If they traded Fred and Gary, do you think there's a game where they could go 0 for 33?
OG will then suddenly be our best shooter, man. And what does that really say about this team?
Do you think the Raptors could go 0 for 33 from 3 in a game?
Again, McDonald's, can we change the 12 fries promotion to being like 12 threes promotion to being 12 offensive rebounds? Or 12 deflections or something?
It should be when the opposing team hits 12 threes against the Raptors. Cheer yourself up with some fries.
You know, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Huh?
I don't know. The marketing agency that runs this.
Oh, Raptors, please. Either do something or win. Like, not this middle. Yeah. Not this middling.
Yeah.
I believe we have seen this report for the last 2 years, but it's been reported again that the Spurs want 2 first-rounders for Jakob Poeltl. I know you talked about Jakob Poeltl yesterday, and I think you said you'd be comfortable giving away like a lottery protected.
If they were like
pick
a winning team this year, like and I mean like 5-6 games over 500.
Yeah,
not.
So you're not a fan of getting him now and then having his bird rights.
You'd have to really protect it and really be creative. Essentially, giving them a first-round pick on paper, but you lottery protected, and then you like really heavily protected next year and beyond. I still wouldn't ultimately make that move, but essentially, if you're essentially saying that, you're giving up a super future first-round pick or like a lot of these like protections, if they don't convey within a span of 3 years, they just become 2 second-round picks. I'd be cool with that. But I think the Spurs can get a better offer. But also the Spurs, man, every week they put out to the reporter, like, hey, we want 2 first. Like, what's the scene in Rush Hour? Like, who you think you got, Chelsea Clinton? Like, no, man, that's not Chelsea Clinton. I'm not taking 2 first-round picks, man.
This is who you think you got, John Collins?
No, R.C. Buford is just on the phones being like, I want $20 million in 20, $10 million in 10, $10 million in 5. Like, get out of here, man. No 2 first-round picks. Not for the Raptors.
The price is too high for you.
Yeah, the price is way too high, man.
But I think that's the asking price this time of year, and we'll see what happens on like February 9th.
Yeah,
like it's like it's a staring contest until the end.
Everybody wants the Rudy Gobert package, and then it's like 2:30 p.m. on February 9th or whatever day it is.
Yeah, that is the day.
And then they're like, okay, actually, we'll take a protected first-round pick.
Yeah, that's why I respect the new Atlanta Hawks front office with former Raptor Landry Fields.
I was watching this guy in a PS Vita commercial in like 7 years ago. Now he's running the team.
How he lowered the asking price for John Collins from 4 first-rounders to a shooting big
again
within the span of 5 days.
I'm sick of this, man.
Oh, do we finally have time to talk about the Pacers a few weeks ago paying a fan $500 to hit a free throw?
Oh, we're deep in the shot if Alex talks
and
about this.
A half-court shot. $500. We got to set some standards. There has to be a minimum if you make a half-court shot.
You know what? Low-key, I have to call the Raptors out on this.
Oh,
the Raptors also have a promotion. Where they put the mats on the floor. They have someone at the 3. There's a 3 is worth $500. A free throw is worth $100. A layup is worth $50, and then a half-court shot in this case is worth $1,000.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but in this 2023 economy, with inflation the way it is, and the world about to go into a global recession, we're gonna pay $1,000 for a half-court shot. I've seen people win cars on half-court shots. I've seen people win didn't they used to do like $1 million or at least like 100,000 or something like that?
Right.
Or at least 10,000.
So set the minimum.
It's a half-court shot.
If you
How
make
many
a half-court shot,
can actually make?
If you make a half-court shot, what's the minimum that an NBA team should give?
$50 million.
What?
No, I'm kidding. 2 first-round picks. Sorry, you should get 2 first-round picks, and for Jakob Poeltl, if you can make a half, I would say like at least 10,000. Like, come on,
10K sounds good.
Yeah. You hit a half-court shot for $500. You can't even pay rent. You hit a half-court shot. You can't
even pay for the seat that you're going back to.
Exactly. Like, no, man.
No, for comparison, in November, a Lakers fan hit a half-court shot and got $75,000.
There you go. Yeah, easy.
Yeah. But $500 for the Pacers is pretty wild.
How far do you think 500 goes in Indiana, though?
I don't know. I think we should wrap up before you say anything else.
Yeah, fair enough. I've been a wild boy today. Yeah. So anyway, that does it for us. I've been your host, Walu, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks once again to producer and co-host Alex Wong. Thanks to our board producer Derek Brandale and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. And we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with maybe more positivity. We'll see.